Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Money and Mindset with Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, aka Dr. Money, and Dr. Thyonne Gordon, Story Genius. Hey, we're
Hello, we're back. How are you this morning, Stephanie?
I'm feeling good. I'm almost getting back to standard time. So it's tough, but I listened to you yesterday and I wasn't fully asleep, but I stayed my butt in that bed until,
Stayed in the bed.
yes,
Well,
yes.
good, good. You look refreshed. Actually, you're just look like boop. You got a glow.
Oh,
So
well,
that's good that you
yes,
stayed in the bed. You're looking all glowy and sun hitting you just at the right angle.
we love it.
Lighting is so important.
And you look like you're fresh off of a run. So I
I
can
am
tell that
fresh off.
you are on it, mama.
Yeah, I'm fresh off of a run. And yesterday I worked out in the gym and I'm so sore, but I'm taking some things that are supposed to make it where I'm not so sore, but I don't know if that's working. So,
Aha, aha. Well, you'll be able to ask Dr. Oliver if he has any. Oh, he says Tiger Balm. So if yeah,
Tiger Balm. Yeah, that works good. That works good. Rub that in. Yeah.
it's good and it's okay to use.
Hmm.
Always on, well, no, you got to know the ingredients before you can decide if it's worth using. But
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Remember, we talked about that with all the sodium that's in food that's kind of hidden and you don't even know it.
right,
And when I discovered that, I was like, because people were saying, my trainer had said to me, "Oh no, you're probably having too much sodium." And I'm like, "No, I don't even eat salt. I don't put salt on anything." She says, "No, no, no. You got to read your labels." I
yeah.
started looking at those labels, and it was like, "Whoa." I didn't realize it was so much sodium in the different foods.
Yeah, it's amazing. You never know what's in there. It's like, wow. And it's so sad. It's so sad that, the food is manipulated like that. And then, of
Hmm.
course, after our experience, our blessing of being in Jamaica and having so much
Yeah.
table food, now you suddenly realize, like, I'm like, fruits and vegetables taste amazing when they're organically grown and they're literally freshly prepared and you eat it farm to table.
Exactly. Remember how excited I was when we were in the airport even and they brought us in the little VIP area and they brought us the fresh watermelon and I was like, "Oh my god, this watermelon has seeds. Oh my gosh, look at all these." I mean, I'm like eating the watermelon. It was so fresh, but all these seeds I had to keep spitting out and I'm like, "This is the watermelon I used to have when I was a little girl. It's
Exactly.
not modified. It's a
Right.
regular watermelon." So,
Exactly. That makes all
big difference. Big
yeah,
difference.
absolutely.
Well, and fresh foods, of course, give us exactly what we're going to talk about today, that reboot,
Yeah.
to help us get our energy up and our mindset healthy. I understand we're going to have a special guest. I hope she joins us today. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about who
Yeah.
we have to help us get a reboot on how we think.
Oh wow, I'm so excited about our guest, Shalon. She's like my love. It's like my, younger sister in love for sure. We were introduced by a mutual colleague, and it was so amazing because our initial conversation was just by phone. But it was one of those conversations that you said, "Okay, I know she's going to be in my life. She's not just a conversation. She's going to be in my life." And it really was amazing because about 6 months later, I had run into some guys and we were at meeting at LA Southwest College, which I wasn't familiar with LA Southwest College. But what we wanted to do was produce the Startup Weekend, which is a global entrepreneurial event that typically happens all over the world. Every weekend there's somewhere a Startup Weekend. And I really became interested once I saw this Southwest College. I wanted to do it and offer it to the inner city youth. And I thought about it and I was like, but there's done a gap. If these kids haven't been exposed to coding, they will be ill prepared. And it was right around that time I call up Shalon. I'm like, "Hey," and she says, "Oh, I'm teaching a summer course." And I was like, divine intervention. But before I bring her on, I'll give you a couple highlights from her bio. And then we'll go ahead and bring her on to the conversation. So she's based out of Los Angeles. She's known as an innovation strategist of digital technology, businesspreneur of influence, and creator of the BOC model, which she'll tell us a little bit more, her BOC model, and author of her Innovate Your Business Model book series. She's identified as a CIO at Digital Marks Group. She's a founder at Innovate Globally Inc., and she's an owner and broker at Turnkey, the Professionals Inc. So I am going to
All
bring
right.
Ron into this conversation. Hey, lady.
How
How are
are
you
you?
guys?
How are you?
I'm doing well. I had a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, and I was like, why would it happen on the day of, right before I'm supposed to come on and talk to my beautiful ladies here? I was like, okay, we're not going to start the day like this. So we're going to just go ahead and drink our coffee, keep calm, and it's going to work out okay. And it
Absolutely.
It's like a little minor test to go, are you sure you can talk about X? It's like, okay, because we're going to give you an example of X in real time. You're going to be on.
It's so
Exactly.
perfect that you're the one with the technology issue because the two of us are always like, okay, do you do this? Do you do that? Do you do this? Do you do that? So that's perfect. We were like, oh, we got it on our little simple platform. But
Right.
you deal with much more complicated platforms than this.
Well, I'm so excited to be here, ladies. I've been watching you guys and I love everything that you're doing and sharing the communication and just, having these talks. So I'm glad to be here this morning. Thank you for inviting me as a guest.
Of
Well,
course. So,
thanks for
Thyonne,
coming.
you want to tell us, recap the points that we want to talk
Yeah. So
about?
yesterday, Shalon, we really talked about how people sit in their stuff sometimes and I can't do this because of COVID. I can't do this because of the protests. And we really get to this mindset of lack in what we can produce. And
Right.
it's actually a time to have abundance. And so
Yes.
we were talking about it's time to make a shift. And we ended saying, we're bringing on somebody who's going to tell you how to bounce back and reboot. So you're our bounce back reboot person with all the innovative ideas you have. We'd love for you to share a little about how do you bounce back during a crisis like this? And what are the next steps for people? Where do we move?
Well, ironically, as this may sound, but it's very true, right? Like new things are created when you feel that there's a lack that is taking place. And really, to be honest, it's like that's your time and opportunity to see like what you're going through and that to know that you represent one in a million. So that if you're going through such a time like as this and you feel like there's lag, I don't know what to do, I'm up against, a brick in a hard place, yada, 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 right? But at the same time, if you can stop and think about what is it that would make your life easier or simpler or, and then also too, that's also attached to the law of attraction, right? And we know about that. So if you could take your time to just stop, be still for a moment, and then realize if you can come up with a solution to your problem, then that's how innovation is born, right? And so with that being said, and I want to share, actually, I have a saying that if I had everything, I would be far. But if I didn't have anything, I would be further. Does that make sense?
If I
So
had everything,
I
I
would
would
be
be
far.
far.
But if I didn't have everything, I would be even further because that's how
Ah,
innovation is born.
Right. You'd have a
So
team possibly contributing to your you wouldn't be as an island, you'd be bringing other people and energy together to get what
exactly.
you're doing.
And
It's
you
just,
would
yeah.
you would and also too from that you would actually be truly helping so many other people, right, that would create that abundance. And so Thyonne, she was talking about this is the time of abundance and she's absolutely right. So like right now you have so many people who are going through such hard times right now. We're seeing it when we walk out of our doors, on the news, on the radio, through social media. So it's really hard to just, you might have to like shut everything off for a second and come back to it in a minute. So I'm using metaphors, but I'm really serious about what I'm saying. I'm trying to use thought provocative and choosing my words wisely to help people when it comes to their mindset, because that's where it really starts. Right, is in the mindset. So how do you go about Thyonne asked me about steps. It's really simple. If you take one step at a time and have one foot in front of the other at a time, that's how you walk. You have to walk before actually you crawl, right? But we're just right now we're going to walk. That's how you walk. You have to walk before you jog. You jog before you run. You run before you understand what I'm saying. So if we could just stop for a moment and really go inside of ourselves, and that's the times that we're living in too, to be honest. It's the inner before the outer. So you're gonna have to stop and think about what it is that you feel that you are lacking. And then think about what it is that, okay, you know, and we do it every day. Like, man, this would be if I had such and such and such and such. But those are quick thoughts that might go through your head. But those are those innovative thoughts to help create or recreate of something of newness. And then what you don't realize what you're doing is you're creating innovation. You're being innovative when you do that. So personally, and I hope this is just making sense, because really what I'm dealing with right now is just the mindset. The first step is the mindset. That's where all creativity takes place, from the inner self. And I call that the inner blueprint brilliance, by the way, because what you have in your mind, and we teach this in innovation when we teach our classes, and we deal with our students, we deal with the cloud, we deal with the brain, the think tank, which is what's going on inside of your mind. And it doesn't have to be in organized form right away. Just all the thoughts that you can have that are running through your head. I have something near me. I'm sure I do. I'm in my home office today, ladies. So,
and Shalom, while you're talking about that, something that you said in terms of this inner blueprint of brilliance, is that what you said?
Yes.
Inner blueprint of brilliance. I love that. Talk a little bit more about that inner before the outer, and finding those things that you lack and bringing those out. Okay.
So for an example, the inner, so I'm referring back to what's going on inside of the cloud, what's going on inside of your head. For an example, one of the things that we do is you can have something as simple as just a simple little notebook. It doesn't have to be this big. I'm just grabbing something that's closest to me. But as you think about things, and it may not come to you right away, sometimes I've woken up out of my sleep. But as long as I have something near me, and if you don't have this nowadays, I mean, honestly, I have this. You have notes on your phone too, by the way. So if you don't have a notebook or whatever, but the point is that anytime something comes to your mind, you got to write it down. You got to jot it down. And the reason for that is because as soon as you do that, you've actually manifested it into the physical. It's coming from the inner blueprint, which is within yourself, your mind. And then as you write it or type it, you're now manifesting it to come into fruition. And that's what's important, because if you let those things like slip by or pass you by, or an hour later or 2 hours later, you're struggling, trying to remember, like, man, what did I think about? We've all done it, right? And so that's where it starts. That's the think tank. That is where it starts, to where you have to it's not organized. It's what we call it is organized chaos. That's what we call it.
It certainly is. And a lot of people will call it like mind mapping. I keep a physical dream catcher near my bed. So that I'll remember. I want to catch my dreams. So the Indians, the Native Americans have a dream catcher, little round thing with feathers in it. I keep a physical dream catcher at my bed. I keep a notebook at my bed. I try not to keep my phone at the bed because I really just don't want to be disturbed when I'm sleeping. But if I have a dream or something, I will groggily get up. And I mean, sometimes I can't even read what my scribbles are. I'm like, what was I dreaming? Oh my gosh. So it's so important though to write it down. And the other part of what you said is something we've been talking about this whole week or this whole series in terms of the manifestation. When you put it to paper or that phone or a note, that is the manifestation. That's your opportunity to make it come alive. The other part that I'd love for you to talk a little about is when you make it come alive and you don't act on it, it's in the atmosphere. I have made a lot of things manifest that I didn't get to produce, but I've seen them elsewhere.
Right.
And I'll say, that doesn't necessarily mean somebody stole it from me.
Right.
I manifested it in the universe. And so it became open to be created.
So with that, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say, tell us more.
Because with that, so what I just got through talking about is labeled as ideation for people who may not know. And so from the ideation, once you take it from inside of your head and you write it down, whether it's in a cloud, on your in your notebook, on your computer, or whatever, you guys get the idea. We will have more ideas than there is money to produce, right? It's like we could come up with 1,000 ideas, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every single one of them will be manifested. And till this day, you'll see people come out with something that you have not ever, you don't know who they are, you don't know anybody, they're not even within your 4 to 6 degrees of separation from people who you know. And you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I came up with. That's it. And you might go to something and I'm like, see, it's right here. How did they get this? But the key to that is to know that we're all united, because we all have that. We live off of energy. So we already talked about the law of attraction. It's very, very, very real. So think about this. There's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
Nothing, not one thing. Everything that we deal with today, even from like before technology even existed on the level that it is today, everything has just been recreated, reinvented. Again, that ties back to innovation. So we've been innovated as long as we've been around. We don't, you know what I'm saying? But it's just now into the 21st century is it being highlighted as much as it is. So that is the reason why. And my answer to this may sound so simple, like it can't just be that simple, but it really, really, truly is. So there's really nothing new under the sun. Whatever you thought of, and because we're all connected to the same source or energy, that energy travels from you to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And really what happened was that person acted on it before you did.
Yes.
That's it. And so sometimes, and I have, I'm dealing with a few clients. I'm here in LA, but I have a few clients that are located in Texas, Atlanta, Indianapolis, just different places. And I can't tell you, over the number of the years, I hear the same thing like, well, I'm doing such and such, but somebody else is already doing that. So I don't even know if I should really continue on to do. I'm like, why not? But because such and such is doing it. Okay, well, maybe you might have a better way of doing it. Have you thought about that?
Or because a lot of times people don't think about that their perspectives are unique. You know,
Right.
And it's so simple in that idea of what is your point of view, what's informing your process to getting to that point.
Right.
Because you probably came about it a little bit different. So it's not that it's the same. It's, you know,
Right.
understanding the space. Right.
I have one little trick to that. It's really simple. Go and see what somebody else is doing and just simply see what they do not have. And what they do not have, you focus on what they don't have so that you can produce that. And then you can still keep the same product, focus on what they don't have. And then there might be things that you came up with that they still don't have that you can add to that. And so then you go about to do, and that's the recreation, the newness, the making things easier, simpler, or, you know what I mean? The whole point of it is whenever you are an entrepreneur or you're doing anything to help other people, you are now taking a servant leadership role. You're here to serve other people to make their lives easier. Point blank. Grocery stores supply food to make our lives easier so that we can have things to get our essentials, nourish our bodies. I'm just trying to use simple things, just simple language to help our audience to understand that it really isn't that easy. If you just take a minute, I know that times are rough. I know they're tough. I know it's like, well, it's easier for you to say, but my rent is due tomorrow and I only got $5 in the bank account and I gotta, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to keep it. But I understand all of that. But if you continue to think in the mindset of lack, then you will attract lack. So it starts with ourselves. We have to really go into ourselves. It starts with trying, or I hate the word trying, so let me back that up. Doing the necessary things to build our mindset, strengthen our mindset, whatever comes through our mindset. Meditate. People say, I don't know how to meditate. Yes, you do. You do it every single day because you're meditating on the lack. So you know how to meditate. Right? It's like, I'm here to knock all those negative thoughts down. And we have to do it too ourselves, right, ladies? Even the strong still has to deal with the things that I'm sharing as far as tips, right? So
that's kind of how we started talking from the beginning, in the accountability and the importance of having accountability partners. When you're, Dr. Thyonne,
yes.
Jamaica, we decided that we're working on our programs together. But at the same time, she was in other partnerships when she was working on, she joined some crazy workout program. Now she tricky, I have to be honest with you. She tried to get me in that program with her because she goes, oh, we're walking one morning and I'm moving and something. She says, oh, you should do the Trinidad Carnival. I coached somebody in that before and it was fabulous. Someone's like, oh, that sounds like fun. Dancing. Oh, yeah. And we get back and then I do a Google and see what they're wearing. I'm like, paint and feathers. Oh, she wants me to be in that killer program that she's been crying about, mind you. So hopefully she had other accountability partners for that, because I completely failed. I failed to support that one.
No, you didn't really fail. That actually made her start getting up and going out. So she was just
That's so yeah. But it is the reality, because it doesn't matter where you are within your process in your life personally or in your business professionally. The reality is where you are right now is not going to get you necessarily to where it is you need to go if you're not investing in ways of stretching and expanding your understanding and knowledge.
Yes.
So you have to remember that what got you to this particular point at this time was different set of circumstances. And so that's why I always say, well, wait a second. Well, let's stop, take a pulse. Let's take an inventory. What is the season right now that we're in? And what are those key elements that reveal where that season may or may not be headed, right? COVID is something we weren't familiar with. So I couldn't tell you specifically, oh, I had a plan for COVID in that name, but I absolutely had a plan for, I could see global market turbulence happening. I could see some shifts in the market. I could see sustained growth in areas that seem to be falsely propped up. That's one of the things that always concerns me. When I see a market growing for an extended period of time and there's no clear fundamentals to what's supporting that growth, then that means that something's falsely propping up that reality. And so that means that then it's going to burst. And so usually the folks who are going to be the casualty are the ones who are least prepared and least aware, because if you're just blindly having other people manage your money, for example, you're not paying attention. And if they're not making the, effort to make you aware of that, then you're blindsided. How many people through the Great Recession lost the half of the value of their stock portfolio, people who were ready to retire. So then you go back and get another 5-10 years to rebuild that. Well, it's the same thing in our business. And sometimes it feels like it's daunting. So what do? We need our group, and everybody is not a solution for everything. So you need those right relationships that, and Shalon and I we'll have a conversation oftentimes. Hey, I'm working on this. Let's huddle. It's in the embryo phase. So I can't really take it out to public consumption yet. But I'm just trying to figure out, what am I missing? Maybe I'm too close. Sometimes we all have this. We can't see the forest for the trees. So you need your safe little network to sit back and say, hey, I'm working through this. I know this is my safe group. They're not going to steal, we're all about supporting each other. Right. So we're just going to see if we can help you unpack it and figure out how we make it better.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my gosh. And there's something that you just said that, I was like, God, I got to let her talk. We get excited when you hear certain buzzwords, right? The safe group, that is so important. That's why it's really important to have a mentor or coach. And I know people might say, well, I can't afford that right now. And it's like, okay, so how many coffees did you get this week at Starbucks? How many, and the point is that you're going to have to learn how to sacrifice to cross over to where you're trying to go. And have someone, it's about investing, right? I heard you say that earlier, Stephanie. That is so important, because my investment doesn't necessarily mean monetarily. and I share this all the time with my clients that I'm coaching. Investing is your time. It's capacity. It's investing can stand for a multiple of different things. It's how do you choose to utilize, right, whatever it is that you are putting stock into. So with that being said, as far as like the safety net, the safety group, the accountability, having someone to keep you, like hold you to an account of what you need to do, right, to take the steps towards execution, it is so key. So again, it goes back to that mindset. And really what I'm about to say, I really hope it resonates with people, because there's really in the end no one to blame but yourself. It took me a long time before I realized that. And it starts with commitment. So instead of making instead of making excuses, let's start making executions. Let's get the E's corrected, right? And it starts with self, that inner blueprint brilliance, the commitment, the structuring. Let's get organized. Let me talk to someone other than my mother, father, sister, cousin. Get away from the family, because a lot of times family may not have been given what divine has given to you. And so therefore you need to talk to someone who can understand what it is that you are in the process of doing. You see how I'm using my words? I'm choosing them wisely, because words are tied to energy as well. And so the energy ties to the law of attraction, and you are what you attract, period. So when it comes to, like Stephanie, oh my gosh, and I heard you do the introduction about how we met, and that was just like, she forgot to say that it was two people who didn't know each other that said,
wow. I forgot.
Connected us together. And I was like, okay, I really need to speak to this phenomenal woman, because two different people who don't know each other, her name came up twice, right? And we've been together, we've been joined at the hip, Thyonne, since then, and that's been at least 7+ years. It's been a minute. And so that's another thing too, making sure you'll know if you're with the right accountability partner, because I absolutely love Dr. Money, Stephanie Ardrey. And then she introduced me to Dr. Thyonne. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so blessed to be among these young women. And so to see how the circle is growing organically, but positively with abundance, because you have attracted with like kind. That's not always easy. I'm not trying to like downplay that, like that's just so simple. But really, the more that you start to go in and trust the inner self, then it's your intuition that would allow you to know, like, okay, something's not kind of feeling right. I don't know if our connection is okay. And that doesn't mean it's negative. It just means that might not be the right source for you.
Right.
And it may not be the right time. Sometimes you have to come back to people who you've met in the beginning. And I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Like I've met people 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and then it's like, oh my gosh, that's the reason why it was meant for us to meet, because of this that's going on right now. Yeah. So you just never know how things are playing out. But that accountability partner is it's just really. Let me just say this one thing, and I hope I don't want to be rambling, because this is so dear to my soul.
Thyonne, this is the what you're talking about is so important, because we have talked about that. We've been kind of driving it in the ground, the whole idea about having that accountability partner and really knowing yourself. I call it the head, heart, hunger. And the hunger part is that gut. You could feel it. You can feel when the energy is right. And, because a lot of times we just operate from our head. Oh, I shouldn't do this, or, oh, I shouldn't do that. And then sometimes we're just like, oh, I want that so bad. And it's just heart. It's all emotion. When you get to that gut, it's not just emotion. You feel it. It's in that belly. And we have to be embodied in our energy in that way.
Yes.
When we start to learn to connect with our energy, that's when we make the better decisions for us. And it's not about the blame game. Like, I'm not going to blame myself. I'm not going to blame you. Get out of that, like you said. It's not about blaming. We don't just leave that alone and go and get the E's straight. No excuses.
Right.
Get your execution going.
Right.
So we love that. Just love it. I want you to give us some parting words, and then Dr. Money usually wraps everything up. But I have loved this. We have to have you back. I had an opportunity to meet you when I was doing a business boot camp, and you came in and blew the class away because Dr. Money was just like, oh, here, I have a person that you could bring in. And this is how much we love and trust Dr. Money. I didn't even vet you. I was just like, okay, what do you do? Send me your slides. You know? If she said you're good, then you're good. Okay, let's keep moving. I didn't even have to deal with the whole vetting of people with you. And I just love that. I loved how you came in. And some of the students have still asked about, well, that lady that did that thing on Innovate. And I was like, oh, Shalon? Sure, I can,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So please give us something. You've given us so much today, and I want to remind everybody. I took your. I love this innovation blueprint, but I also love how you said, because I think it's helped us with the process we've been in. You said we have to, crawl before you walk, and all of that. So I'm going to tell you, I have a whole bunch more steps, because since we have to take baby steps, I'm going to say what you have taught us is to lay in it. So first we're just like, we're laying in it, Then it's like, okay, sit. And then we get to sit. All right, kneel. Kneel.
Yes.
Stay, crawl. You crawl a little bit. Stand, walk, jog, run, leap, and then we can fly.
Right. I absolutely.
So that's what I got from you.
That's why Story Genius is,
I love that. And in parting, I really want this to hit home. There's no such thing as microwave results. That is the reason why I take my time in even expressing how things should happen. People might see products that might look like they came out overnight and they're huge successes. But what they don't know is most of the time, these products or these companies that are coming up with these innovative products, they've been around for 10 plus years. They just didn't tell you about that. Right. So the bottom line to that is this. I always say, now for Thanksgiving, do you want me to cook your dinner in a microwave, or do you want me to cook it on a stove? However way you want it, you can eat it that way. I can guarantee you that if I cook it in a microwave, it's not going to taste the same. The way I cook it in the stove, in the oven, and put my sweat and my work and my labor and my thoughts like, oh, I can make this cake like this. And it'll say, so just think about how there's no such thing as microwave results. If you do that, you will receive microwave results. And that's not a reality in actuality. That's really not being responsible in your efforts to when you're saying that you really want to be able to come out with something and you really want to help other people, and you really, you just, all you're thinking about is money. And you can't go into a situation to where all that's on your mind is what is in it for you, and not thinking about what is in it for other people that will help others. That is where the abundance comes in. The abundance comes in from helping other people, which is, by the way, a mission of mine, my mission statement. I believe in that. I don't care what it is that I do, who I work with as far as my partners. I want to make sure that whatever, I'm here to help you. How can I help you? That's how I start off in every conversation. What is it that I can help you with? What are you going through right now? You have to understand. You see what are you going through right now? Where are you at? How are you stuck? What steps did you take? Okay, so then that way I can assess the whole entire situation, and then I can help you to go back and see that you missed this step, this step, this step, this step. So what you really need to do is come all the way back, and we need to restart, because most of the times people don't even think about an end goal. You have to know your end from the beginning, or else, like for an example, if I know that I need to get to a location, I need to know where that location is at. I can't just get up and get in my car and just go without first realizing, okay, my location, my destination of where I'm trying to get to is located in 50 miles from here I need to connect on such, a certain highway. I need to get off at these certain exits. I need to make my lefts, my rights, those type of things. So even in that, the everyday daily things and routines that we do is the same thing and the same necessary steps that you have to take when it comes to executing that you want to offer to help other people lives be easier, which comes back to being innovative. And it all starts from
That is
mindset.
amazing.
So
Thank you so much, Shalon. That is a great way to reboot. Dr. Money,
Yes.
how do we get out of here? How are you going to take us out of here today?
Well, first, again, I want to recap and thank you so much, Shalon, for joining us today. I think the conversation has been delightful. And I think that it's so important because all the messages and reaching. And so we were thinking about that, how do you reboot and rebound? And so what I wanted to leave the audience with today with the lesson is that you don't fail unless you quit. Mm-hmm. And so what that gives you an idea of is that rebounding and innovating means that you're looking for opportunities for improvement. And as long as you stay on that continuum, then you'll continue to have new outcomes. And so if we think about organizations where they have portfolio of brands, when we talk about branding, often I think of Procter & Gamble is an amazing organization. Because when you look historically, the products that were created started after World War I, World War II, when the boomers were coming back from the serving in the military, and then transportation began to exist that allowed for communities to be established. And so the initial portfolio of products were for the house. Then you started having children. And so you had all the products necessary to build, the family. Now the products for the boomers are around those who are, entering their later years. So you see different products, Depends, and all of these other products that are aimed at some of the challenges that the boomers. So they built their business model off of the life cycle of the boomer generation. But within that, as other generations have emerged, following the boomer generation, you can't just keep all your eggs in the basket of the boomers because they're slowly aging out. So who are these subsequent markets that you want to speak to? So they're more aware of product ingredients. So then you see, Clorox with honey bloom, orange blossom, lavender, different things to expand the brand. And so it's the same thing with our minds. And so if you feel that you've hit a wall with what your business is doing. We use the word often when we're talking in investment speak that you want to see if there's an opportunity to pivot, but you don't just randomly pivot. You want to first take a pulse and understand what opportunities make sense. Because I always tell my clients, listen, there are people that may care about what you're doing, but we need to make sure that there's somebody that's going to pay for what you're doing beyond your friends and family. Because your product or service has to be a solution for somebody. And so you need to understand who really are those people that share your desire and are willing to pay someone to solve that particular problem. And if you find that, then it's all good, game on. So again, we want to thank you everyone for tuning in today. Thank you, Shalon. Thank you, Story Genius. We love how you summarized and wrapped up the stories. And thank you everyone again. Hopefully you gained some good tips around money and mindset. And we'll see you here again tomorrow. So come back with us, join us again. We'll be back same time, same place.
Thanks so much. Thanks again, Shalon.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, ladies. I love this. Thank you very much.
Give me 1 second and I will close this out.